Before we begin with the actual discussion of the topics, let's put things into perspective first. Why is studying this subject important to you and me? So aside from getting a grade and complying with your curriculum and earning a diploma later on, what else? As business students, especially majoring in financial management, it is important that you gain an understanding of the financial system, how it works, how it impacts the economy and the society, its significance, the services it provides, the advantages and disadvantages of each bank and non-bank financial institutions, so we would know how we might benefit from the knowledge. So what are the needs? In the future, you would graduate and there are many possibilities available to you where you might need the things you're supposed to learn from the subject. Firstly, you could be employed by a private company or in a government office. In this case, you might be assigned to check on which financial institutions would allow your company to borrow money from as added resource, and you would be asked about the corresponding cost to the company, repayment terms, what is the optimum amount that the company can borrow, what's the interest rate, how much interest would be paid every year, how long before the debt is fully paid, how would its repayment affect the current operations? Does the company have the ability? Should they borrow from a bank, multiple banks, or from a lending company, or somewhere else? Aside from needing money to expand the business, others would probably have excess cash or money which they want to invest. In such a case, you're also looking at finding which financial institution would suit your needs, a bank, an investment house, a trust company, a savings and loan association, or a brokerage firm. So which one do you think would manage your money well? Which one would provide you with the most profit? Which one has the least risk of botching your money? Which one is the most costly? And which one has the most possibilities? So if you ever get into that position of being asked those questions, you need the knowledge for you to be able to answer those questions and provide recommendations on what the company should do. Alright, so for you to help in making those decisions, you would need to know how each of these financial institutions, banks and non-banks operate, the services they provide, and the charges they impose. So you could be employed in a government agency as well, or international government. If it comes to a point that you were asked by the president or the finance secretary, we need money, where can we get them? So, well, the government can legally borrow from the BSP, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the government-owned and controlled corporations like the LBP, DBP, and I'm not sure about Amana, I've only recently learned about it. And then aside from the local sources in the country, the government can also borrow money from international financial institutions such as World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and the Asian Development Bank. So there are prerequisites, though, requirements, and if you ever get asked which is a better option, you would need to know their differences, their services, their charges, and of course their requirements and the repayment terms. So this one would be a bit more challenging because it would basically affect the whole country one way or another. But normally people who are involved, the ones at the top who has a say on these things, they are experienced, they have built a reputation, and they know very well how the various financial institutions work. If you want to be one of those guys, okay, just in case in the future, you need to have an in-depth understanding of the financial system and the financial institutions like the back of your hand. And then another possibility for you, you could also be a financial advisor. There are a lot of positions you can hold, but mostly this subject would play a significant role if you are in finance or you're working at the finance department of a company or an organization. Anyway, as a financial advisor, you could be in a bank, in an insurance company, in an investment firm, a trust company, the like. Okay, so you would have clients who would entrust their money to you, who would listen to you on where to put their money on so that it could grow and gain profits. If you want to build your reputation, show off your expertise in the field, you would have to know your various banks and non-bank financial institutions and the different services they offer, together with how they operate and the pros and cons of getting their services. Or you might find yourself working in a financial institution, bank or non-bank. So in this case, it's to your advantage to know exactly what the financial institution is all about. And for you to be able to dispense your duties and responsibilities, you need to know what's going on not only in your particular company, but also the industry as a whole. It's competition, they have alternative products or services. Majority of financial institutions are catering to the same clientele. So same demographics of clients, working class, those who want to save, from students to workers to CEOs and such. So on top of the products and services, as you're serving your customers, you also need to know their particular needs. You have your customers, you have students, you have working people, employees, self-employed, business owners, from small sole proprietors to medium and large businesses, and basically people from all walks of life. So certain financial institutions are coming up with new services, new products to offer their customers. Anything related to money and its management that could help, they try to introduce new services as add-ons to encourage more people to, bank with them or to become their clients. So let's do an overview of what most people know about the usual financial institutions before we get back to, your possible scenarios in the future. So we have banks, and we go to banks to save money. There are savings accounts mostly. Businesses and people in higher income brackets, they go for checking accounts so they can issue checks for payments of whatever. So these are called deposits, and they earn very little interest, 0.25% to 1% or 2% annually. Okay, so it's not really to earn money, but mostly to keep your money safe. You'd rather put it in the bank than have your house robbed and the money stolen. Okay, most working people understands the importance of having insurance, and if they can afford availing one, they would. Some people think it's a waste of money, but it's protection against uncertainties. So we'll discuss these things in more detail when we get to the topic of insurance companies. And then most banks also offer internet banking and mobile banking. It provides their clients with convenience. Okay, in this day and age, bringing your company online is a necessity. Also, given how most working individuals work the same hours as banks, so they couldn't take the time to visit the banks during working hours. So ATMs are good, bill payments, online or mobile banking, fund transfers, and then these make things easier for the bank clients. And of course, there's one bank or two, I think, that used to conduct business beyond 5 p.m. Which is why many people really prefer them over the others. We have BDO. So currently it's shorter than it used to. Instead of 7 p.m., I think it's 6 p.m. because of the pandemic. But at least the working class are still able to visit them after they clock out from their respective jobs. Alright, and then other services they provide, we have the auto loan, salary loan, home loan, credit cards for their depositors if they meet the requirements, okay? And then banks for businesses, the most common is loans. So salary loans to their employees, credit cards, and then there are business loan for additional capital, for expansion or building a new branch, auto loan to acquire vehicles. Aside from loans, they offer business solutions, let's say payroll management, so that they can pay their employees through bank credit, use of ATM cards instead of dispensing cash. And then there's also cash management. Business customers can pay through the bank and the payment would get credited to the account of the business. And then another voucher or check preparation. Instead of preparing manual vouchers and checks, they could use the system to prepare them paperless, and the signatories would simply click on their computers whether to approve the payment or decline it if there's any errors. So the payee, the supplier or the creditor, would have to pick it up from the bank or the amount would directly get credited to their accounts. Okay, that's another possibility for them. So these business solutions help out in streamlining the cash flow activities of businesses and also going paperless. Okay, so of course there are requirements. Most of the time it's just ADB. There are maintaining balance, average daily balance, ADB requirement, like let's say 1 million for you to be able to use this business solution. You have to keep a certain amount of money in your bank account. Sometimes it's in the millions. Okay, depending on the bank and, depending on the type of client. Sometimes it's negotiable, but there is that. Okay, so what other financial institutions do we know? Money transfer, you have LBC, Mlawilier, Palawan Express, other pawn shops, etc. Okay, and then pawn shops, if people needed quick cash and they own something valuable, they can pawn them. So we have jewelries, gadgets, even laptops, phones. Those can be pawned nowadays. Money lender, so different financial institutions actually offer this service one way or another, but most people prefer the informal kind because of lesser requirements. Okay, 5/6 is one. So nowadays there are a lot of apps online as well, mga cash apps na tinatawag. You'd get ads about it. It's quick cash, but the interest rates are usually higher. And the term is shorter, like monthly, up to 3 months. So let's say they have a 3% a month. So that equates to 36% in a year. But since it's short term, let's say up to 90 days or 3 months. So a total of 9% for 3 months. So depending on the needs of a person, it could be worth it or it could be a riff-off. Okay. Another, we have money exchange. So we've heard about this, especially for people who travel to another country and would need to exchange his money to a different currency so that he can use it while he's there. So banks have this service as well, but in the beginning there are business, the sole purpose of which is to exchange money, mostly situated at airports or at known tourist locations. Anyway, and then we have GSIS, SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Since they operate by mandate of law, we don't usually think of them as financial institutions, but they are. Okay, these are regulatory agencies for the working class, employed or self-employed. So we'll discuss them later on. Will be quite extensive. And then what else? You could be, let's go back to the possibilities, all right, for you. Okay, so you could also be a business owner, just in case cash is short, or you need additional resource to use as capital, or another possibility, you have excess cash and you want to invest them in financial instruments. Knowing about banking and financial institutions would help you in your decision making. So right now, as a student, I hope you guys are saving money in a piggy bank or preferably at a real bank. So we'll be discussing various banks, their pros and cons. Later on, when you want to start investing, where should you go? How do you start? We'll be able to tackle these things as well. Alright, so I've already said too much. This video is meant to give you a reason to appreciate the subject or to get you interested in learning the topics that we will be discussing here. Alright, I'm out. See you in the next video. Thanks and bye.